Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Resident Rule Breakers. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
My name's Michelle.
And today's podcast is going to be about episode 503 of The Resident, titled The Long and Winding Road, written by Joy Blake, directed by Rob Korn.
Before we go further, Michelle, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Michelle. I'm from Minnesota. I've been a nurse for 23 years, but I'm back in school to get my master's of nursing. So yeah, I'm trying to handle life and school, and pretty much it just revolves around school right now.
How do you feel about Emily's portrayal of a nurse practitioner, as someone who's an actual nurse? How did you feel for the past 4 years? Did it feel like she did a pretty good job in representing you guys or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. And parts I liked the best about it was when she was very, advocate for her. She was advocating for her patients, especially when she was working with Lane, I think it was, with the cancer patients, and the fact that she would advocate for her patients. And that's a huge part of our job, is advocating for our patients, because they have rights to refuse things, and a lot of them don't understand or know that, that they can refuse treatments, they can refuse, being woken up in the middle of the night for something if they don't need to be, so she did a great job. She was really compassionate and caring and just great with her patients.
It was a beautiful episode, beautifully shot by Rob and the team, beautifully edited, beautifully acted, just a beautiful episode that pays wonderful tribute to Nic and to Emily.
The hero walk that they did for Nic, and Emily, I did not cry. She cried, but I didn't cry.
It was a song that made me cry. Well,
what were your thoughts on the hero walk? What did you think about that scene?
I thought it was really emotional, just kind of touching, because she was such a big part of everybody's life, and so when she passed, that everybody's able to kind of say goodbye to her.
I do have to say that the flashbacks were nice. I love the flashback. Yeah. My favorite flashback was with her and Manish, because I forgot that she was the one who told Devon, stick with Conrad. He's the one who fixes the boat. That was from the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was literally her who pretty much, made Devon the doctor that he is now, because he stuck around, because he was ready to quit. He was ready to give up on Conrad.
Yeah.
But that advice from Nic made Devon go, oh, okay.
And Conrad is the guy who fixes the boat. I saw somebody say that they were sad mostly because Nic was the only representation really for nurses in many of the medical dramas that are on now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And losing that representation for nurses was just a big deal for a lot of people who are in the medical field.
And I've seen I talked to a lot of fans of Emily. They were they watched the show for Emily, and they said that she got a lot of messages after she announced her exit that said that she got them to go to nursing school, that she influenced them to go to nursing school because she played Nic. So I think that has to be making her feel proud,
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and that's great. We need more nurses.
Especially during the middle of a pandemic, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
We need good nurses that are actually really good science, but anyway. There were some fans who were suggesting recasting Nic instead of letting her die, which to me is just crazy. Both of us is an insane, out of this world thought. Where the hell did you guys come from?
I guess because we have insight from Amy, because we interviewed her June 2020. and she talked about how Emily was cast, and Emily was pretty much handpicked by them to play Nic. No audition necessary.
Nice.
And so I'm sitting here thinking that she's the only person they wanted to play Nic. Come on, guys.
Yeah, like why would they want to cast another person? I mean, no offense to whoever ever, right? But like, and then they try to compare it to AJ's mom. I'm like, how many episodes was AJ's mom in?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and she was so sweet. I commented on something one time, and she liked my comment, and she said a little stuff about it, like how I represented nurses or something, whatever. And so it was really nice of her. I thought she was a sweetheart. So yeah. But yeah, recasting Nic, it's kind of like recasting Matt. You can't do that. Or Conrad. It's like it just wouldn't be
Matt
the same.
Zuckery, well, he's the resident for a reason, but Nic wasn't the only character that carried this show. There's an ensemble, and for people to like, at first I was a little frustrated when I saw that Emily was leaving. Yes.
Yeah.
We all go through these stages of, grief over a character, but I accepted the fact that she had a baby, and her fact that her family's in Canada.
Yeah, we kind of predicted exactly what her reasoning for leaving was, which was because of her baby, and that she didn't want to be away from her family with a newborn and stuff like that. And with filming and stuff, they take like 9 months or so.
Yeah.
From family and stuff like that. Like I would not want to be away from my baby either for that long.
No.
And there was that interview. It was Matt and one of the co-EPs. Matt's a co-EP, but he had another one with him, and they were talking about the reason they made the decision. And the fact is, when they were going back to filming, Emily was 8 months pregnant, and she had a baby on the show. There was no way they could logistically hide her pregnancy.
Yeah.
And make it make any sense.
Yep. I kind of thought, and I hate to say this, but like being around people for so long, I can kind of tell in the face almost if somebody's pregnant, just because they start to, it's a pregnancy glow type thing, but they also get their cheeks start to, I don't want to say puffy, but maybe it's a little bigger. Yeah. No. But it's kind of like, is she pregnant? So,
and a lot of Emily fans knew it before she'd announced it, but well before she announced it. So
yeah.
I'm one of those people that try not to what is that called? Try not to speculate on an actor's life.
Yeah.
Until like they confirm it, because that's just like rude. And I don't want to be like National Enquirer putting stuff out there that is not confirmed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I hate those gossip rags.
Oh, they're terrible. Yeah.
What were your favorites? Some of your other favorite scenes from the episode, Michelle?
Yeah, I thought Matt did an amazing job playing out how he lost his soulmate. He just, my gosh, over the moon, great acting. I wouldn't even call it acting, because you get so into the show that you forgot you were watching a show, and you just think you're actually part of somebody's life, so I just thought that was so great. And the way everybody responded to her, kind of like, oh my gosh, that's our friend, that is dying, or, and it was so emotional. I mean, I cried right from the beginning. I even sent Amy a message and was like, well, you did it. You made me cry right from the beginning to the end. So, but yeah, it was a great episode.
The thing that touched me was when Devon was chosen to do the test on Emily.
Oh, sure.
When Leela was like helping him put on his coat, get him ready to do all that stuff. And she was like, are you sure you can do this? And he was like, I have to do this for 2 people I love and their baby.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, why are you killing?
Right? Oh yeah.
It's a small scene and it's not even like that big of a deal, but that's a burden that he has to carry. He was chosen to carry by, probably Conrad and Belle and Kit and everything else, and he was doing.
There's a whole plot line in this episode where Belle says, Conrad, one, you can't treat your wife. You're too emotionally attached.
Yep.
And then he tells the same thing to Billy. You're too emotionally attached. And I was like, thank you for listening to us for once in this lifetime. Because we've called him out on having a character too emotionally attached to someone, treating them before.
Yeah. And you're not supposed to treat family either, and if you can avoid friends. So
yeah, but the thing though, Nic was close to everyone in that hospital.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They were like family and friends to her. So if you want to go with you can't treat your family, well then she might as well go to another hospital, because everybody in that hospital is family, and everybody in that hospital had like conflict of interest as obvious as made evident by that, like, hero walk or whatever. Because I mean, everyone had like been her friend and her family,
Oh, exactly. So it's kind of like, well, what would she do otherwise? Well, nothing. Exactly. You have to go to the other hospital where she wouldn't have gotten the care she got from Chastain people. So yeah.
I was like, thankfully they thought about that when they wrote the episode. Like, just
yeah.
But the acting from Matt was superb, and I said he deserves all the acting awards he can probably get for this episode. He did get an honorable mention from TV Line.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, I did see that. Yes. Yeah.
But Matt talked about his preparation to film this episode with Lynn Morshire, and he said that he was isolating himself on set, even more so than what he has to normally do for COVID precautions. And just to the point to be able to get into his own head to be able to bring these emotions to life. So I respect him for that, to be able to bring it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It probably helped that they were friends offset too. So he could kind of get more emotional, like to be saying goodbye to a friend. So that's how I kind of,
And he's brought that up in multiple interviews that, Emily will always be one of his closest friends. He thinks of her, while this episode was going through its airing stage. So Matt doesn't have social media, but he has a way to get his words out there. So in interesting ways. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I know this episode is mostly about Nic, but I want to talk about the long haul COVID patient.
Yes, I did want to bring that up.
Who is also connected to Nic because he got one of Nic's. That one was that one was beautiful, knowing that Nic's former patient, is as her like last saving, last act for him was to save him by giving him her trachea, which is I think beautiful. What was his name?
His name was Gabe Sandoval.
Yeah, Gabe. So anyway, this guy had COVID, and he was like intubated or whatever, and he had serious breathing problems, but I guess because of COVID and he still had a trach, and he had like his wife taking care of him at home and everything else. And so he was adamant about like, do not intubate me, do not put me under, do not resuscitate, no nothing, or whatever. And his wife was like, no, you have to, I can't live without you, that kind of thing. And so finally he was okay with the trach implant. Yeah. Did they tell him that it was from Nic?
Yes, there was a scene where they tell him Nic passed away and that it was her trachea that he was going to be receiving. There is a scene, very briefly.
I wonder how I would feel if someone told me that. Like if someone had told me like, thanks to the nurse who took care of you when you had COVID, you get to live again. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In a way, she saved him twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just him, she's saved countless lives of countless other people in many, many ways. Nic's a nurse, and her whole life was devoted to saving people, and she's going to continue saving people, and that's beautiful. She'll also live on through her daughter and through
Yeah.
memories of Conrad. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
When they got the coolers of all of the organs, it's beautiful. That got me a little teary eyed because it was just like such a selfless act and stuff to give it to donate organs. And they had that woman, I guess, who was she? Like a donor transplant coordinator thingy who
Yeah, she worked for like one of these companies that like they handle like organ donation from family to patient or whatever.
Is that a real life thing, Michelle?
Yeah, I think if they know that there is going to be somebody that is going to be able to donate an organ, they usually have them like on a call, like, you know, so they can be like on call 24/7. And then they can be at the hospital within a certain amount of times to get that organized so that the other people can get their organs. However, you know, you can't sit there and just wait for somebody to pass away because that's kind of morbid. But yeah, if somebody does pass away, there is somebody on call that can hurry up and coordinate that for anybody that does need to have a transplant. So
What exactly, if you don't mind me asking, what is the whole organ donation go through? Like what kind of questions does a family go through? Well, whatever. So how does that work? If you know, I mean, I don't know, and Kayla probably doesn't know either. But
yeah, I don't know exactly, but I think it's the fact that if you're an organ donor and you are brain dead or something, you're just, you know, not going to make it. And your family has, you know, usually has to honor those wishes, because if you put down that you're an organ donor, then you are, you know. So then they do try to just keep the body, you know, cold enough, but at a point where you can remove the organs quickly. But it's, I don't know. I don't know the whole thing of it, but it has to go quickly though. That part I do know. Okay. So if it's like a heart transplant or liver, kidneys, of course, you know, those are to be pretty quick. But it's hard because we've had people like that too in the ER, and it's a do not resuscitate, you know, so and that's hard, especially if they're younger, you know, it's like, oh, like, come on, I don't want to just let them pass, you know, so that gets hard trying to honor somebody's wishes, I think, and then your interest, you know, because, you know, family is like, no, I don't want to, you know, they don't want them to go through that, but, you know, the patient wanted that, that's what you have to honor is the patient. So,
and I made my wishes known, like, you know, to my parents early on. You know, I became an organ donor. I said, you know, I told my dad, I said, look, I'm not going to need these when I'm dead, you know, so let someone else have them, you know. And he said he understands that. It's on my driver's license, kind of like what they showed with Nic. It was on her driver's license. So it is.
Yeah, I'm an organ donor too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But, you know, I saw something, because their whole plot line at the end, there was a title card at the end of the episode that's, you know, donate, you know, organ donation. But people, since this episode have aired, it's increased. The organ donation thing has increased. So the resident has a way to do things, and I love them for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, they did the same with. They always try to. One thing I like about the resident is they always try. When they have a story that is like, you know, has I guess a social justice kind of topic or whatever. It's like they did with 220. They always have like some kind of information graphic or something to kind of help people, like, this is real, this isn't some just fictional world, here's how to help or whatever, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I noticed, like, when Nic's sister, you know, Jessie, had passed away, they also had something for, you know, if you're addicted to drugs or something and need help, you know, or like any kind of mental help or something like that, which is great. I love the fact that they have like real things there and real cases, like the kid who also had that stimulator for seizures. I have a stimulator in my back because I'm on my feet all the time, but I am getting that out hopefully soon, because after that aired too, I'm going, you know what? I never thought about all the consequences of having one of those implanted inside me until that episode. And I talked to Amy, and Amy's like, get it out. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get it out. But
I mean, I have epilepsy, I've had it since childhood. I've been on drugs as long as I'm capable of remembering. I've been on this drug for it.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was like, that's like, I wanted to remind people that was like an extreme scenario.
Yeah.
The surgery is not the first step for epilepsy,
Oh.
but
it's just, they got to keep it interesting and keep it going, and have, so people want to watch too.
yeah.
Oh.
But you brought up Jesse passing away.
Mhm.
Nic dying means Kyle has now lost both his daughters.
Yeah.
Something a parent should never have to go through. And in the episode, he blatantly says, she's my only child left. And Corbin Burnson. And we've praised him so much over the past couple of weeks, because he was in a Hallmark movie recently, and Camille does another podcast for Hallmark movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, if you want another time if you want to watch something else that Corbin is in, that will 100% guarantee to make you cry, go watch Taking a Race on Hallmark Channel. But seriously, I like Boohoo the Devil. That one was like, ooh, we were probably on the podcast talking about it.
Corbin, like I think Camille said last week's podcast, she said they told her, the Hallmark actors that work with him said that he was a very giving actor when he was in the middle of his performances.
Mhm.
And you can see that in this episode when he's being the grieving dad. Beautiful performance.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I hope he comes back and apologizes to Conrad.
Right? It's like he didn't feel bad enough the way it was, and then now he's, dad's blaming him. It's like, oh, not his fault.
I honestly don't think that he needs to apologize.
Well,
because I feel like, just like Conrad, he was grieving too. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I'm sure, what is Conrad gonna apologize to the papers that he threw on the floor? you know what I mean? It's like, when you grieve, you do things or you say things that just comes out because you're like so mad and sad and angry and whatever else. You're not of the right mind, kind of thing. And I don't even think Conrad wants an apology or needs an apology from Kyle either, because I'm sure he was probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. Yeah,
because Conrad's sitting here going, I can't save her. I'm a doctor. I save people every day of my life, and this is my wife, and I can't save her. So, because he's sitting there in the beginning in denial that it's not as bad as it is, because he's seen it before. And yeah. And Devin, the first thing he sees when he sees the scan is she's dead.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And Conrad was like, why are you sorry? He was like, oh. And then Devon's face was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're in denial. I'm just gonna shut up now.
Oh, exactly. Because it's like, I think he didn't want to see it, so he didn't see it, so he was just like, no, she's fine. It's like, no.
Yeah, because Conrad was looking at it through husband eyes.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking at it through his doctor eyes. If he was looking at it through his doctor eyes, he would see that she was too far gone or whatever. But again, grief does that to people. When you are like sad or whatever. But
oh yeah.
And here's the thing, they reference in the episode, Nic was sober. So whatever happened to or whatever caused her to have this wreck,
that's the mystery for next week. Because there was no, they did all the scans, they did all of the stuff, and they looked or whatever, said they're gonna just like, okay, what happened? How did she die?
Yeah.
How did she get into the accident or whatever?
And that seems to be what the promo is referencing. So
yeah,
that Conrad's going to try to figure out what happens to Nic.
Yep.
So
I hope he does. I'd like to know what happened, and kind of how that happened.
What do you think will happen now with Conrad? Do you think they will have a love interest for him?
There are hints from, I'm guessing, Andrew Chapman and Peter Elkoff that there was a plot twist in the Halloween episode 5/5 that I'm pretty sure it's a time jump at the end of the episode of a couple years.
Yeah, it looks like the Gigi in the pictures look a lot older than the Gigi in this episode.
Yeah.
So I think what's gonna happen is they're time jumping so Conrad's plotline can jump forward.
But then he will no longer be a resident. So does that mean the title of the show changes?
Well, technically, it's Devon. I guess they're jumping it.
Even that is gonna be. He would no longer be resident.
So, no, exactly. He could be like the attending now or something.
Yeah. But I mean, we know Miles will be back, so maybe he'll be the resident.
Miles is Billy's son. Yeah, he'll definitely be back. Yeah, I hope that, because a lot of fans are like, this episode brought no closure for me or whatever, but it wasn't supposed to because the storyline's ongoing. And a lot of people were like, well, will we at least see Nick's funeral? Will we at least get to see something? Because funerals often bring closure to people with emotionally.
Okay, now this is just weird because to me, they're organ donors. From other episodes that I've seen, they take your eyes, they take your throat, your trachea, your heart, all these things, right? How are you getting a funeral with all of that?
You can still have a memorial service, something.
Yeah, but would it be ashes, not an actual casket and body?
Probably.
No?
Yeah, she'd probably be cremated at that point.
Because Nick's sister was cremated as well. So, and they did the scene where they dumped their ashes, something like that to bring closure would be
but it's
beautiful.
not funeral.
It's still a memorial funeral.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was also curious about that. Like, they're taking out these person's organs. Is there a body left to like put in a casket and bury?
A little hollow.
But Conrad, there obviously will have to be some type of, urn or marker or something, that they can physically, deal with. But especially for Gigi, so because she's not going to remember any of this. She's never going to remember her mother. No. So that'll be something that Conrad will have to be able to physically show her.
How sweet was that when the show ended and the helicopter, you can see the helicopter come up and Gigi says, "Mama."
Yes. Oh, that broke my heart. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she was associating helicopter and mom, but.
Like she knew.
Yeah. It was sweet.
Or maybe it's just like coincidence. She looked up in the sky and, like, Nick is in heaven, so therefore she says mama.
Yeah, that was kind of bittersweet. Oh, yeah.
The only other thing people I saw questioning was like Kit and Belle were supposed to have a date and they were like, they keep bumping their date back. But again, 5/1 to 5/3 is 24 hours. It's a day.
Yeah.
And people tend to forget that because the resident used to do weekly, like it would just go week to week to week. This one didn't do that. And I'm like, it's been a day, right? They're gonna drag it out too because we've got 23 episodes to fill a plot line here. So but they're more preoccupied with their jobs than
exactly.
They are.
Also, like their friend died, so they got thrown out the window.
Nick's more important.
Yeah, I totally would agree.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Michelle, do you want to add anything else before we close off?
No, I just love talking with you ladies. This is great because I listen to your podcast and then of course, being a huge fan of the resident like you ladies. It was great to talk to you guys and be on here today. Thank you for letting me come on and talk with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, yep, absolutely.
I just wanted to thank everyone for supporting us but more importantly, supporting Emily. And we want to tell to Emily, if you ever hear this, thank you for playing Nic. Thank you for bringing her to life. And we wish you well in your future endeavors, whatever it may be. And send our love to Josh and to Iris. Also wanted to bring in that the body that was in the episode was a mannequin. It was a doll. Well, I pointed out because she never returned to set. So I was like, they had to have some way to.
Yeah, but I wonder how they did the face onto the dolls. So like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but a lot of people were like, yeah, it's but I had to point it out to some people that it wasn't her. But she wanted to come back and film, but they used a mannequin. So
yeah.
The ratings for 5-3 were the highest rated of season 5 because of the content of the episode, but it did jump it was over the 3 million mark same day. So people saying the ratings are down, they're not. They're stable.
That's good.
Yeah, people seem to keep confusing down versus stable. Just because the numbers are low compared to the previous year, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that less people are watching.
It was still a top rated show for Tuesday night.
Yeah. And also what's to say? And also they're only watching 7-day numbers. They're not looking at they're not same day numbers. They're not looking at 7-day numbers. Usually they double with the 7-day numbers.
Yeah, so the ratings are good, guys. Don't worry about them.
Yeah. Amy Center.
Yeah, I kind of referenced the articles and stuff, but Emily did break her silence and talked about, her decision and all that stuff. And she said she would be willing to come back, and a lot of people ask how, and I'm like, you know that there's a thing called a flashback.
Anybody who's watched Grey's Anatomy would know this. I mean, hello, all season last year they had Derek come back, they had Lexi come back, they had Mark come back, they had George come back. I mean, her mother also came back this season. I mean, literally, they're all dead, but they just came back.
But yeah, Emily said she would be willing, time willing, and everything with her schedule and the baby and everything, that she would be willing to come back. It's just, she made the decision, family over her career at the moment. Next week's episode it's episode 5-4. It's called Now What? And the notable guest stars are Glenn Morshower, Denitra Eisler, Jessica Meisel, Miles Fowler, and Greg Henry, who played Logan's dad on Gilmore Girls, otherwise known as Mitchell Muntzberger. He'll play a doctor in the episode. But it's pretty much Conrad trying to find answers for Nic. And then the Raptor has a run-in with the police, and the photos actually show him with Trevor, Miles's character, and it says it has a surprising twist to it. And then Leela's the one that noticed all the issues with Greg Henry's character, I think, because it says that in the press release. If there's anyone who would notice it, it'd be Leela. And then 505 is the only other episode we have any information on right now. The Thinnest Veil, Halloween themed. It'll air October 19th. Conrad's looking for a distraction, so going through the stages of grief, trying to distract himself. It's Halloween, and he's got a group of women who think they are witches. And Devin has a guy who thinks he's being haunted by ghosts. So I think it'll be an interesting one. And then Bell's got a storyline that says he's picking up a hitchhiker while he's on vacation.
Oh, wow. I'll be there to watch.
There's the cute photos from that when they show Gigi in her Halloween outfit, and she's played a little chick. The chickens are kind of the big deal in the Nic and Conrad storyline, so that's really cute. And then they show the witches and all that stuff too. There were tons of photos that just don't. Other people in this one: Michael Hogan, Tasso Feldman, Denitra Eisler, Jessica Meisel, So the normal people. Halloween episodes are my favorite, some of my favorite episodes of a series. So we do have titles, but no press releases because we're about to jump a week without an episode here. November 2nd will be 5/6, and it's called Ask Your Doctor. November 9th will be Who Will You Be? That's 5/7. 5/8 is Now I Seal, air November 16th. So
is that when they take a break?
And then they'll take a break for Thanksgiving and come back.
Yeah, when are they gonna like take a break for Christmas?
After December 7th.
So if you guys are Hallmark fans, go check me out at Hallmark Heartbeats podcast, and I interview actors, writers. I actually just interviewed, I have several authors coming up, and different actors that are all linked to Hallmark movies. I also review Hallmark movies weekly, and it's called Hallmark Heartbeats podcast. It is on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio.
Pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast.
Yeah, it's on every platform possible. It's also on YouTube. So yeah.
And so are we.
Yeah. So where you're hearing us, you can also go and search Hallmark Heartbeats podcast.
And of course, we have a Patreon to help fund the podcast. You know, we do BTS stuff and everything. Camille has a thing called a Buy Me a Coffee page, which is very similar to the Patreon. They do BTS stuff, you know, previews of podcasts and sneak peeks and stuff like that. So patreon.com/the resident podcast. But yeah, I always release the podcast first on Patreon, and then you can contact us. We also have our email address, which is theresidentrulebreakers@gmail.com. We have our Facebook group, The Resident Fox Fans. We also have the page for the podcast, which is The Resident Rule Breakers Podcast. Instagram @The Resident Podcast. Camille has at The Resident on Fox Fans. I'm at QB Country 37. And then, of course, we have our Twitter account, which is @Resident Podcast. And I live tweet from there every Tuesday night. Next week's podcast will be about episode 504. Now what? Thank you for listening and have a good week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.